any of the following acts or conduct constitutes contempt of Parliament or breach of parliamentary privilege. O, any act or omission which affronts the dignity or authority of Parliament, or which tends either directly or indirectly to bring the name of Parliament into disrepute. So an act that affronts the dignity or authority of Parliament, or which tends either directly or indirectly to produce indirectly to bring the name of Parliament into disrepute. Mr. Speaker, I think somewhere on the 22nd of July, this House passed a resolution constituting the delegation of Ghana to the ECOWAS Parliament, ECOWAS Community Parliament. Mr. Speaker, if you recall, we had removed the name of the minority leader, Honorable Afenyomakin Alexander Kwamina, member for Efutu, from the list of Ghana's delegation to the ECOWAS Community Parliament. So, Speaker, this resolution of this Parliament was communicated to the ECOWAS Parliament by, I believe, your good self. Mr. Speaker, the ECOWAS Parliament convened to sit in Port Harcourt in Nigeria from the 25th to the 28th of September 2025. That's Port Harcourt in the Rivers State of Nigeria from 25th to 28th September 2025. So, Speaker, this Parliament's delegation, as constituted by our resolution, went to Port Harcourt and they met the Honorable Afenyomakin Alexander Kwamina sitting there and refusing to give way as directed by this Parliament. Indeed, whilst our nominated delegation were there, and it was time to swear in members, the ECOWAS Parliament refused to swear in Ghana's delegation. They refused to swear in Ghana's delegation and said that they will not allow Ghana's delegation to be sworn in because this Parliament had removed the name of Honorable Afenyomakin Alexander Kwamina. Mr. Speaker, I had to intervene and threaten the Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament that if my delegation returned to Ghana without being sworn in, she will receive a resolution of the Parliament of Ghana directing Ghana to withdraw from ECOWAS itself. It was upon that threat that the Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament then caved in and swore in four members of our delegation. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Afanyo Markin Alexander Kwamina was at that session of the ECOWAS Parliament, attended that session of the ECOWAS Parliament in clear defiance of a resolution of this Parliament. In clear defiance of a resolution of this Parliament. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I have cited the provisions of Order 31-0, which says that any act or omission which affronts the dignity or authority of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and let me emphasize, authority of Parliament, any act that affronts the authority of the Parliament of Ghana or produces any such effect constitutes contempt of Parliament and a breach of parliamentary privilege. Mr. Speaker, by defying this Parliament's resolution, removing him from the delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, and actually going to Port Harcourt and attending the session, Mr. Speaker, he has clearly affronted the dignity and engaged in an act that constitutes an affront to the authority of this Parliament. And it is time that the Honorable Afanyo Markin be put in his proper place. Mr. Speaker, I therefore rise pursuant to the relevant orders to make a complaint of contempt of Parliament and a breach of parliamentary privilege, and to urge you, pursuant to the appropriate orders, to refer the Honorable Afanyo Markin Alexander Kwamina to the Privileges Committee for him to be processed. And if indeed the committee comes to a conclusion that my contention that he indeed went and attended the session in clear defiance of our resolution, and that that act constitutes an affront to the authority of this House, that the appropriate sanctions be executed in relation to the Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afanyo Markin. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, you have heard the complaint of contempt being laid before all of us. The rules are clear. I'll have to come back to the House as to my view on this matter before I decide whether to refer it to the committee or not to refer to the committee. So I have that decision to make, and I need to consider it before I do so. So I will take the whole of today to consider the complaint, and tomorrow I will then communicate my decision to the House. The House definitely will be given ample opportunity, according to the standing orders of the House, to have a say in this matter. So there's no need now for comments on this. This is his complaint he has just lodged, and we'll go by the rules. So please, you will hear from me tomorrow. With this, we'll proceed to the next item. Item 7, questions. We have a number of questions. Ten in number. And then we have statements too. So, honorable members, as you know the practice, if it is constituency specific, please, it's only the member asking the question who will have the opportunity to ask supplementary questions. If it is a general one, sorry. Yes.
Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and Speaker, I admit that we are taking item 7. Speaker, I see a yawning disparity between the order paper for today and the business statement that was adopted last Friday. Speaker, if you may indulge me, the business statement as was adopted by this House, there were 28 questions programmed for various days. Now, Speaker, if you look at the questions programmed for Tuesday, and on the business statement as was adopted, and then you look at the order paper for today, I see a clear disparity. For Tuesday, we have statement as has been advertised. Then we have questions for 2 sectors: the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and the Minister for Labor, Jobs and Employment. Speaker, I realize all the questions advertised as was adopted by this House for the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and the Minister for Labor suddenly vanishing. They have vanished. We can't find expression of these questions on the order paper. And this House cannot adopt at one breath a business statement, and then suddenly we make an undue amendment to the business statement without recourse to this House. So, government side, I saw the table office, officials of the table office walk up to you. Probably they've given you some update. You need to carry this House along. And we on this side demand answers why these questions have vanished from the order paper.
Mr. Speaker, if I may catch your eye. Sometimes you've got a request to catch the eye of the Speaker.
Why do you have to catch my ear and not my eye?
Because
you should have struggled to catch my eyes, not my ears. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it is true that at Business Committee we had scheduled the Ministers of Lands and Natural Resources and also Minister for Labor and Employment to appear before this House today and answer questions. But we received a communication to the clerk that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is leading a delegation to Brazil to attend the Conference of Parties to the Climate Change Agreement, COP30. He will be arriving in the country on Monday, 10 November, and has therefore requested for a rescheduling of the responses to the parliamentary questions. So the minister is leading Ghana's delegation to COP. That's why he's unable to come and answer the questions. I do agree with you that ordinarily they should have still printed the questions, advertised it, and then we would put in this request for rescheduling on the basis of his absence. Same with the Minister for Jobs. He had planned to come, but as you will know, so much progress is being made in this country. The road employment, labor. The road infrastructure of this country is receiving a major push through the big push. And His Excellency the President is in the Upper West region, in the constituency of the minister today, as we speak, involved in efforts to improve the road infrastructure of this country. And the minister, because that is his constituency, has to be there. He's a member of parliament and he's a minister, and that's his constituency, and the president is in his constituency. So at the very last minute, he sent in word that he will not be able to appear and answer the questions, and therefore the clerk at table's office should reschedule the questions. Also a letter to that effect. I think the letter is with the speaker and he's going through it. So that is the reason why I think the table office decided not to advertise the question. Maybe they should still have advertised the question so that we can request for a rescheduling of the questions. So Speaker, I think that should answer the issues raised by the Honorable Minority Chief Whip.
Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, I don't envy the job of the majority leader. It is not an easy job. Now, Speaker, the practice has been that anytime such communication comes from the outfit of the ministers, leadership is copied. At least the whips are copied. On this occasion, surprisingly, we were not copied. That is the first point. Secondly, these ministers have deputies. So my worry is that Thursday we are expecting the exchequer in this house. The Minister of Finance will be here. And as you all do know, when the budget is presented, we go for post-budget workshop. When we are back, debate. After that, we start taking motions. And plus or minus, we'll be taking over 40 motions. As we go over the years, when these motions are being taken, we are unable to take questions. Already, we have a backlog over 300 questions. You guys worry. This is the only tool we have as members of parliament, the people's representatives, to elicit response from ministers. The ministers is going to COP, so COP is more important than coming to parliament. No, parliament is more important, in my view. And the table office goes through the motion of giving a prior notification to the ministers. So the minister knew ahead of time that today he will be in parliament. Can we look at the date on the letter? The date, majority, if you can tender that letter and then mention to this house the date on that letter, because that minister was given prior notification. The ministers must prioritize the work of Parliament. How are we going to dispense of over 300 questions that are lacking? No answers. Today I'm going to COP. The next moment I'm leading a delegation. The next moment I'm with the president in my constituency. This is Parliament, for God's sake. The president is in your constituency. So that is more of a priority than coming to answer questions. Majority Leader. No, the president is the president. Yes. The president takes precedence. Yes, he takes precedence. I agree. In fact, that is constitutional. The president takes precedence. But I'm saying, is he the road minister? No, the minister for labor, jobs, and employment. Is he the road minister? Is he the road minister? Because I think this defense that the majority leader is struggling to put out is lame. It cannot stand on its feet, and he must find better reasons to ascribe. The labor minister must be called to this house. I plead with you that you should direct. Wherever the lands minister is, he must find his way to the Parliament of Ghana. The lands minister, he must find his way to the Parliament of Ghana. The labor minister must... what are your deputies doing? The president, in his wisdom, and in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, has given us the opportunity to appoint deputy ministers. Look at my good friend, the energy minister and green transition. And his deputy, he's dutifully seated behind him. His deputy, a very calm gentleman, is dutifully sitting behind him, giving you all the moral support. The labor minister will not be here. His deputy will not be here. The lands minister will not be here. His deputy, for God's sake, is a member of Parliament. Honorable, the lands minister's deputy, if you may indulge me, the lands minister's deputy, our good friend, one of our own, Honorable Yusuf, he is a member of Parliament. He is also not here. The two of them are attending to COP. Wait, Ghanaians are listening. After 4 years, you go to Brazil for Brazilians to vote for you. We cannot accept this reason. We cannot accept reason. So he must find a better reason and probably reschedule. We must reschedule because Thursday we have the finance minister and we have a committee of the whole. We are told the finance minister is already here. But I plead for your directives that these questions must be rescheduled. It cannot fall to be part of the backlog. There are over 300 questions that are still on the getting dusty on shelves. So tomorrow the minister should be here. Employment minister, the lands minister, he must take the next available flight from Brazil and come to Ghana. His first duty is to represent the people of this country. That is why he was vetted by this house. And you go to COP and join at Brazil. He must find his way here. He's drinking coconuts in Brazil. We need your directives.
Majority Leader.
Right, Honorable Speaker. The Minority Chief Whip has carved a very good image for himself in this chamber when it comes to environmental matters. When it comes to environmental matters, Mr. Speaker, if you go through the Hansard of this House, he has almost no equal. He has projected himself as an environmentalist, as a man who will do whatever it takes to protect the world's climate. Every day that there is a debate in this chamber on environmental issues, the quality of his delivery is often reported live on the media. Copiously, his mastery of environmental issues are well known. It is therefore shocking, Mr. Speaker, shocking, that when the minister who is acting as Minister for Environment, attends to the invitation to attend the conference of parties of the climate change agreement representing the Republic of Ghana, to demonstrate the Republic of Ghana's commitment to protecting the environment and the climate, I am shocked that this honorable member, who presents himself as an environmentalist, will take issue with that minister. I am surprised, Mr. Speaker. And to create an impression that what the minister is doing is so out of space that in the next election, Ghanaians should punish because that minister has attended an international conference where the world is trying to fashion out a mechanism to protect the world's climate. And he expects that when the world gathers to fashion a mechanism to protect the world's climate, that Ghana will not be heard. I am surprised. But I will say anything. I can understand when we are doing simple politics, and you should know that there are seniors in politics. There are seniors in politics. You do politics, we do politics. We'll see whose politics is a better politics. Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure he wants to persist. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we were expecting a very reasonable and better explanation from the majority leader. Mr. Speaker, if the majority leader go this, Mr. Speaker, if the majority leader go this tangent, it's very bad. Mr. Speaker, that word is withdrawn, majority leader. Mr. Speaker, our environment is almost destroyed. Our environment is almost destroyed. Galamsey is everywhere, and you think that we don't need our acting environment minister in Ghana, but rather we need him in Brazil? Is that what you are saying? When we have nothing more to call an environment, when it is being destroyed, when our bodies, water bodies are polluted, when there is Galamsey everywhere, where people are dying as a result of our environment being destroyed, and you think that the minister should be in Brazil? Majority leader, I think you can give us a better explanation. Then we can move ahead and answer the other question. But the response and your reasons for saying that he has attended to represent us on this. We need him in Ghana to talk about environment issue, to address our environment challenges, to address Galamsey. So, Mr. Speaker, he should give us the better explanation than the one that he has given. It is inadequate.
Honorable members, this matter has been recurring for some time now, and the standing orders have elaborately detailed out the process, the procedures on this subject matter. And you need the service led by the clerk. You need the presiding officer, that is the speaker, and you need the House itself to be able to apply, implement, and enforce these standing orders. And you all know that when you issue the question to the minister or a member or an independent commission, constitutional commission, that is an order. That is an order to the person to attend upon the house. And so 77.1, Rule 77.1 states it clearly. And I want to quote, that's question time in the house. 77.1, a minister, a member, or the head of an independent constitutional body shall, by order of the House, attend a sitting of the House to answer a question. That is order of the House. It's not of the Speaker, but of the House. In some circumstances, I represent the House or Parliament. When it comes to sessions like this, I preside. And what you ask me to do is also spelled out in the standing orders. And so at this time, it's the House. You have ordered the person to appear before you to answer the question. Now, I've just been given some communication emanating from the two ministries. One, Lands and Natural Resources, and the other, Labor, Jobs and Employment. The letter from Lands and Natural Resources says, dated November 7, 2025, talks about the questions. And is signed by the acting chief director of that ministry to the clerk. And it's copied the minister, drawing the attention to the fact that the minister is currently out of the jurisdiction representing the President of the Republic at the World Leaders Summit at COP30 in Berlin, Brazil. So he requested for a reschedule of the responses to the parliamentary questions which he submitted. I was told, or I'm told, that this was referred to the leaders of the House, majority and minority leaders, and they agreed that the questions be rescheduled. The second one is a letter from Labor, Jobs and Employment dated 11th of November, 2025. And it also relates to the questions that you're referring to. And he only regrets his inability to attend upon the House on the scheduled date. Signed by a chief director. And this is directed to the clerk of Parliament. Copied the minister, the majority leader, the majority chief whip, the minority chief whip. That is what I have on the letter dated 11th November 2025. I'm informed that the leaders' attention was drawn and that the leaders agreed that the questions be rescheduled. Now, the House is led by the leader of the House. If the leader has truly consulted with his colleague and they agree that it be rescheduled, then I, as the person going to preside, should have been given some prior information. I have not been given. Based on the decision of the leaders, the table office proceeded to reschedule. In fact, I will not use the word reschedule, but to withdraw them, the questions and the answers from the order paper, which meant that they will have to go back to the business committee to be rescheduled. They themselves at the table cannot do that. It is the business committee that will do that. But I want to emphasize this. It is the order of the House that the member, minister, or head of the Independent Constitutional Commission should attend upon the sitting to answer the question. How you people now decide to handle that matter, because it's out of the hands of the Speaker. It's now order of the House. I will come to preside, but I beg to differ the way these orders are being treated. The orders of the House should be taken more seriously than is being done. It means that members themselves can ask questions and just write to say that I regret my inability to attend to answer the question. And then you take it as a good reason why the member should not be present to answer the question. I don't think that is right. And so, please, leader, I'm saying this because we are at another critical juncture, constitutional reforms. And these experiences are all to guide us as to take the decision whether to continue what we are doing or to discontinue it. And that is why I'm amplifying this matter. More so as the House has bent over to allow deputy ministers to represent their ministers on the floor of the House to answer questions. I say so, bent over, because by our constitution, deputy ministers of sectors are not ministers of state. It's stated in the constitution. But we have bent over because they are to assist the minister. And so if the minister says, go and assist me on the floor of the parliament, he is right to come and assist the minister by representing the minister. And so the House decided to accept that. And that has been the practice up to this time. And so if the minister cannot attend, at least the deputy should come to represent the minister. It's just to read the answers, and that will give them the opportunity to also learn on the job by responding to supplementary questions, so that the ministers can keep their deputies abreast with what is happening at the ministry. If you are not able to do that, then we are not grooming successors, people to take over from us. Please. Honorable members, please, I want us to take this matter seriously, because we need to get answers to our questions. And we need people to put some priority on the business of Parliament. The minister who just showed up that is not what the minister communicated. That's not what the minister communicated. That is what you heard from the majority leader. But the majority leader said they received the letter that the minister was out of the jurisdiction to represent the president at COP 30. But the details of the letter, which has been given to me, and I want to read it so that you get the situation. We have to be frank with each other. We have to be truthful. We don't need to keep on deceiving ourselves. It's the clerk to Parliament. It's addressed to the clerk to Parliament, Parliamentary Service, Parliament House, Accra. Read parliamentary questions. We refer to your letter number OPTQ 127 dated October 7, 2025 on the above subject, which was received today. And I told you the letter is dated November 7th. The ministry respectfully wishes to inform you that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Emmanuel Amakufibua, is currently out of the jurisdiction representing the President of the Republic at the World Leaders Summit at COP 30 in Berlin, Brazil. He will be arriving in the country on Monday, 10th November 2025, and honorable members, please, honorable members, I repeat, he will be arriving in the country on Monday, 10th November 2025, and has therefore requested for a reschedule of the responses to the parliamentary questions. Kindly accept the assurances of our highest esteem. The acting chief director is Innocent Halligan. He signed for minister, and a copy of the letter is sent to the Honorable Minister, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. That is what is communicated. That is what they've given me. So from the letter, which is dated November 7th, 2025, the minister should have arrived back in Ghana Monday, 10th November 2025. Today is Tuesday, 11th November 2025. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I read this to the House. And I said that the minister requested for rescheduling. And I read it. I actually mentioned the date of the return of the minister. I mentioned it. Go and check the records. Please, the cameras are here. If you want, step out, take the video, replay it. You will see that I read that part of the letter, given the dates. What happened was that the minister complained that the notice was too short. And you will recall that he is acting as the Minister for Environment. And that is the capacity in which he had to take on this assignment. So he complained about the shortness of the notice, the duration, and that he needed a little more time when he arrived to prepare the answer. Mr. Speaker, it is important for the public to know that Order 77, which you have read, also has a provision in Order 77.3. And Order 77.3 says that a minister, a member, or the head of an independent constitutional body shall not take more than 3 weeks, upon receipt of a question from the House to respond to the question. It means that the minister has at least 3 weeks. Yes, that's what the standing order says. Upon receipt. So I explained this extensively last week, that sometimes the questions we ask require that ministers go out to the field to gather the information. The information may not be immediately readily available at the ministry. And if you recall last week, this issue came up. And I said, for instance, if you ask whether or not the building in Bador, in Boku Central, has been ripped off by wind, a storm, the minister has to ask his regional director, who will go to the district director, ask him, who will write a report. And so you have 3 weeks within which to answer when you are informed. And that is the basis on which I reported to this House again, that we at Business Committee then directed the clerks that anytime they are scheduling a minister, they should make sure they have reached the minister to ensure that the minister has given them a firm commitment that the date they are scheduling is the date that the minister is available, so that they can agree on the date, because he has 3 weeks. We discussed this in this chamber. And I reported to you our discussions at Business Committee. And he was there. The minority chief whip was there. He was there. We discussed these matters extensively. So this matter, Mr. Speaker, I think is not something that we should belabor the point. We have a few questions to answer. And I believe that, Mr. Speaker, the real issue is that the minister was saying that the notice was short and he needed a little more time to prepare the response, especially given that he had traveled out of the jurisdiction to represent Ghana at an international environment conference. And that is what I think the letter clearly indicates.
I thought we had exhausted all the issues. Yes.
Speaker, with respect,
please.
We've not. Well, first of all, let me profusely thank you for reminding the House on the provision of Order 77. Speaker, it's also important we don't belittle the matter at hand. Now, Majority Leader, last Friday, you referenced Order 77.3. Today, again, you are referencing Order 77.3. I want to challenge you. Check at the table office. There are over 300 questions that are outstanding. I tell you, most of the ministers stand in defiance. They stand in defiance of the 3-week provision. They stand in defiance. Go and check. You have not checked. Go and check. Speaker, what the majority leader should be doing, listen to me, what the majority leader should be doing is to be carrying the House along. The business statement is you always have the first copy before others in leadership get copies. You knew these questions were taken out of the order paper. The questions that stood in the name of the Minister for Employment and the questions that stood in the name of the Minister for Lands. You knew ahead of time. You failed to carry leadership along. That's where I got to the chamber only to see the order paper. And these questions were miraculously missing from the order paper. How do we take this as your co-leaders? How do we take it? How do we take this? And I made the point, as I'm grateful you re-echoed the point, that in the absence of the minister, the deputy can stand instead. Surprisingly, the minister and the deputy all walked into the chamber, and we were told by the majority leader that the minister was in Brazil. He was in Brazil. Did you come with a presidential flight? I wonder if the minister came with a Brazilian presidential flight. And let me revert to order 31E. And it's a free counsel to our leader. Order 31E. And with your leave, any act or conduct calculated or intended to deceive Parliament or a committee of Parliament. I find this very revealing. We have been told that the minister was in Brazil and he was supposed to return on Monday, and you were in Brazil. Suddenly the minister emerges in the chamber. And again, Speaker, there's a trend emerging in this house, and we need to cure it or nip it in the bud. The majority leader keeps saying, I'm telling the table office they have to write to the minister. That is known, that's what they do always. You should be commending the table office. They have been doing all this work all these years. It will not take you, the majority leader, to tell them to write to the minister. That is what they do anyway. The reasons why we have 300 questions outstanding is for the majority leader to answer. And you are providing shield. You are just shielding the ministers. When we program, we go through the motion and the questions are programmed. You come on the floor and shield the ministers. And you are giving reasons. That is why the questions are compounding. I'm repeating myself for emphasis. You are the front bench. Go and bring your ministers. That's because I am very worried why the over 300 questions cannot be answered. And the questions are outliving their usefulness. We file the questions, the ministers will give excuses. I'm in Brazil, I'm drinking coconut in Brazil, and all that. What is that? What is that? You have coconut in Ghana. Why do you go to Brazil to drink coconut?
Honorable members, 5 minutes suspension of sitting. Just 5 minutes.
And so there you have it. Indeed, it has been a very eventful one up until now. Earlier, just when the House convened or sat, or when proceedings began, the Speaker made a formal communication. And in that formal communication, the Speaker indicated that he has taken notice of event that took place at the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee yesterday. At the Chief Justice's nominees vetting yesterday, basically talking about the exchanges that ensued between the majority and minority leaders, which also resulted in a number of breaks. In fact, there was an early break, which was to just allow cool heads to prevail, after which they came back. There were still some few interjections and objections here and there. The Speaker says yesterday he had received a delegation, and so upon receiving that delegation, he could not follow the early part of the vetting process. And this morning, his attention was drawn to what happened at the vetting room. And indeed, he makes the case that, relying even on the standing orders and how Parliament, as it should or any other day should, engage in its business, to make a point that there shouldn't be any moment or any day when Parliament would be seen to have, offended the kind of relationship that exists between the legislature, which is one arm of government, with another arm of government, and in this instance, the judiciary, also because you had a lot of judges who had gathered at the vetting room. Consequentially, the communication the Speaker made was to the effect that he, the Speaker, in and on behalf of Parliament, has apologized to the judiciary and to 8 members for the exchanges and the minority walkout that characterized the vetting on Monday. In fact, he went ahead to give that strong assurance that Parliament would continue to respect the cordial relationship that has always existed between the House and the judiciary and also the executive arm of government. Now, the other leg to that communication, take away the apology, he goes ahead to also make it known that he has directed leadership of the appointment committee to take notice of the incident that which happened on Monday during the vetting, and ensure that in all subsequent proceedings and in all subsequent public hearings of the committee, nothing of the sort is recorded again. In fact, he stresses on the need to ensure decency, the need to ensure institutional respect, and the need to ensure decorum in all future engagement of the appointment committee, which is one that he makes quite strongly, and it is a communication that he has issued and a directive that he has made to leadership of the appointment committee. So that was how proceedings started this afternoon when Parliament sat or began sitting. Speaker has summarily apologized to the judiciary for all that happened during vetting on Monday, and has assured them of Parliament's continued respect and relationship between this House and them. Subsequently, the majority leader made a complaint against the minority leader for allegedly breaching rules, what is known as parliamentary privilege, by attending a meeting of ECOWAS Parliament when he shouldn't have done so. So he has pleaded with the Speaker to refer him to the Privileges Committee for possible sanctions. And then just before the break, now the Speaker is in, so it means that proceedings are going to resume. But just before the break, the conversation was about the absence of some ministers, of their failure to attend upon the House to answer to certain questions. That was the kind of debate that unfolded in the House when we went on break. Proceedings are back, we cross over.
Including the time in trying to gather responses from various units, agents, departments and ministries before they come before us. And that is why 3 weeks have been given. And so you need to look at the timing and see whether it's more than the 3 weeks. From what we have here, is within the 3 weeks. The only issue is that once the sector ministers agree, or the member or head of the independent commission agrees to appear before the House, and the question is scheduled, it becomes an order. And there must be exceptional reasons why the person will not be able to attend. In fact, we are told the ministry, not just a minister. If the minister cannot attend, as we've been doing, we allow the deputy. Unless the member insists that he wants to hear from the minister and not the deputy, we allow the deputy to answer. My other issue to the ministers is the fact that they should take interest or direct the heads of the ministries, that is the chief directors, as to how to couch these letters. I think that is important. The minister, by the nature of the job of a minister, you will not have time to be writing these letters yourself. So you delegate the authority to the administrative heads, and that's the chief directors. By the way some of them write the letters, they don't attach seriousness to the work we do here. And so, please, ministers, kindly get in touch. Kindly get in touch with the chief directors to take these things seriously. And when you give instructions to them, the way they couch the letters should be such that the House will be persuaded to grant the minister the permission to absent himself or that of the deputy minister. But the wordings of some of the letters need much to be desired. And so I will please urge the leader of the House to take the comments in good faith and try as much as possible to get the ministers and the heads of the Independent Constitutional Commission to appear before the House to answer the questions. This has been dealt with, and I'm reminded that in my absence, this was discussed and is being raised again. It means it's of concern to the House. So please, let's try to resolve it. But the practicality of the system we have now is such that the bureaucracy is still weak. Bureaucracy is still weak. The administration is not that responsive. And the same applies to Parliament. We are also not too responsive to queries from the public as a result of the capacity of the bureaucracy. So let's take this in good faith, but try as much as possible to enforce compliance to our standing orders. Yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we'll take that on board. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Environment does not have a deputy minister. Secondly, the Ministry of Employment also does not have a deputy minister. In this instance, the minister just tells me that the question actually got to them on Friday, and he was not even in the country on Friday, but he received the communication and gave instructions that the chief director should request for rescheduling so that he can adequately prepare and provide the appropriate answers. But we'll take on board all the concerns raised by honorable members, and we will make sure that ministers attend as scheduled, and if there's a very good reason why we should reschedule.
That was your seat. That was your seat. So, what is that? You can speak. We are saying that you have to come to the house. And so we will support you, but make sure you come to the house and do business. I am worried about the over 300 questions that are getting dusty on our shelves. It's worrying. That's why it's worrying. And Thursday we are going to have budget. So these questions, are we going to reprogram them? No, it's important. These questions are important. They are very important. So these questions are also going to get dusty. And they are also going to add on to the outstanding questions. You are not worried about that. Majority leader, you should be worried about this. You are laughing. This is not funny.
Actually, I think the letter from the Chief Director captures all this, because the question was received at the ministry November 7th. And so when you add 3 weeks, 21 plus 7 will be 29. That is the limit that to answer within 3 weeks. And so today is what? Today is 11th. So we are not out of the 3 weeks. And the letter clearly stated that at the time they received the question, the minister was out of the jurisdiction. And so how come it was scheduled without consulting the minister again to know whether the minister is available or not available and to answer? So this is something that I said is a weakness of the bureaucracy we have to work on. So please, Minister, you want to have a bite?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I just wanted to state for the record that as a fifth-time member of Parliament, a former deputy leader of this House, I take the business of this House very seriously. And in fact, it is the reason why when the information reached me and I look at the time limit, the questions that must be answered, I felt it was important that I extend it so I can prepare properly and come to this House. That's how serious I take this House. And so I think that it's important as we discuss this, that the clerk must also look at the time of communication and what time the ministers will have to prepare for the question. In this particular case, if you look at Friday and consider the fact that I was not in the country and arriving on Monday, and I'm expected to come on Tuesday to answer. And in fact, I don't simply take the questions as has been given to me by the civil servants. I probe further, ask questions, so that I'm sure that when I come here, I can give the right answers. And so, Mr. Speaker, I think that's why, but we take the business of this House very seriously.
Thank you so much. Yes, as a former leader, that's the right thing to do. Honorable members, I have correspondence confirming the date that the Minister for Finance will appear before the House to present the 2026 budget statement and economic policy of government for and on behalf of the President. So I want to read it for the records. The letter is dated 11th November 2025 to me, Right Honourable Speaker, titled Presentation of the 2026 Budget Statement and Economic Policy of Government to Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, I bring you compliments from the Minister of Finance. In accordance with Article 179 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and Section 21 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, I respectfully write to request for audience to present the budget and economic policy of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama for the 2026 financial year on Thursday, 13th November 2026. I respectfully seek your kind approval to facilitate the necessary arrangements for the presentation to proceed. Please accept the assurances of my highest consideration. Dr. Kesiel Atuf Forsen, MP, Minister. Honorable members, let me also acknowledge the presence of the Assembly members from Ahanta West Municipality. They are led by the presiding member, Honorable Isaac Bassau. They are coming from the Ahanta West constituency. They are 49 in number. Honorable members, you are welcome to Parliament. I know you are itching to be here. So it's good you started coming to get a feel of it. And we ourselves are preparing to come to you to see how the two could work together to build up the full structure of Parliament from the national to the decentralized structures. And then the members can use their experience and capacity to empower you to be able to work at the local level and get the assemblies to be more efficient and more effective than we have now. Because governments will be sending much more money to the assemblies, and those money should be properly utilized to the benefit of the people. So we are happy that you find time to come, and on behalf of the House, I warmly welcome you. Please take time and go through the process, and before you leave here, you'll be better than you came in. Thank you so much for coming. You may resume your seats. Yes, I've just been prompted about the timing. The sitting of the House, as you know, is 2 p.m. And so the budget too will be at 2 p.m. We will be doing a few things in the morning. And so the minister will appear at 2 to present the budget statement. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, you just read to us the letter received from the Minister of Finance regarding the 2026 budget statement, which is to be read or presented on Thursday. Mr. Speaker, you may be aware that you admitted a motion, which motion seeks to invite this House to determine Order 1952. Mr. Speaker, this motion has been appearing on the order paper since 11th of March, and even today, it is at page 7, entitled Motion 16, and with your leave, I read that pursuant to Order 127 of the Standing Orders, the Right Honorable Speaker reviews the ruling made on the 11th of March 2025, dismissing an application made by Honorable Habib in accordance with Order 1952, seeking the indulgence of the House to determine the form in which the Minister of Finance was to present the budget statement and economic policy of government for the 2025 financial year. Mr. Speaker, with respect, I submit that our ability to determine to deal with this motion will bring clarity so that on Thursday there will be no need to raise any argument. Mr. Speaker, anytime this matter had been raised, the information was that you have elected to be the one to preside on this debate. So, Mr. Speaker, I humbly pray that if time would permit, between today and tomorrow, this motion is dealt with so that you give your ruling, and if your ruling in one way or the other directs which form the budget is to be presented, then indeed the House will be bound by that clarity given by you as the Speaker, and then we can make progress. Mr. Speaker, that is all my prayer on this rising. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think the Business Committee did program the motion as one of the businesses that may be conducted by this House this week. Of course, once Right Honorable Speaker has admitted it, we may try and take it. But I do not think there's any doubt regarding how the budget is to be presented. I think the standing orders dealing with this matter are very clear. Order 197 talks about presentation of annual budget statement. I think the dispute is whether it should be by motion or by a statement. If I recall, that was the main issue. But Order 195 is quite clear. And I think, Right Honorable Speaker, you gave a ruling on the matter. I think what is being pursued is a review.